This week, Greater Manchester Police Constable Phillip Smith was dismissed from the force following a misconduct hearing into his use of a taser. Smith was called to carry out a welfare check on a 29-year-old male who was suffering a mental health crisis back in June 2018. During his visit, Phillip Smith discharged his taser on the man 6 times, twice in the bedroom, twice in the hall and porch, and twice in his front garden. However, the most shocking part of this incident is that Smith had already handcuffed the man after the first 2 taser discharges in the bedroom, meaning that the man was under control and was no longer a threat to Smith or anyone else. But he obviously tasered the man 4 more times anyway. Just to get across the message that nobody fucks with the police. The guy hadn't even committed any criminal offences either, so this was clearly not a protection issue for the plot, but more of an ego issue. Smith had already pleaded guilty at Preston at Crown Court to common assault, which, if you ask me, is wrong. A taser is classed as a firearm and should be treated as such. You clearly wouldn't get a common assault charge if you shot somebody. Anyway, he pleaded guilty and was given basically no punishment, as he was offered a conditional discharge and ordered to pay just £250 compo to the victim. Now that's like less than 50 quid per discharge, which is pretty pathetic. Now the court only took into account the final 4 discharges of the taser, but even so, that's still just over £50 per discharge. Still pathetic. From what I can find by way of information, it seems that Smith hadn't resigned from the force at the time of his misconduct hearing this week. So if that's the case, he has been getting paid while suspended since convicted in September 21 and likely paid on suspension in the lead up to the case from June 2018. And that's like 5 fucking years. After a 3-day hearing this week at Greater Manchester Police Headquarters, a panel ruled that the first 2 discharges were appropriate, but the next 4 were fired in temper and were simply gratuitous. Charles Apthorpe, representing Greater Manchester Police, said Smith's behaviour amounted to a breach of professional standards and was a discredit to the police service. He added the officer failed to act with self-control and tolerance towards a vulnerable member of the public and failed to use his powers and authority lawfully. Police officers need to show self-control and act in a respectful manner towards colleagues and members of the public. Paul Foster, chairing the panel, said that the taser discharges outside the bedroom were excessive force. Once outside the bedroom, the victim did not pose a risk. PC Smith failed to give a warning, and there was no justification for discharging his taser. PC Smith lost his temper. It was a gratuitous act to cause pain with no justification. PC Smith lost control and failed to show the victim respect. Smith was dismissed from the force and placed on the College of Policing's barred list for good measure, which I'm sure is becoming more like a backup pool of plods to be called upon when the shit hits the fan and the oppressed turn on the oppressors. But of course, this isn't the first of its kind, and it sure as hell won't be the last. So as long as they keep this up, I'm going to be kept busy for quite some time. And of course, seeing as he's been dismissed and didn't resign, then at least I get to say,
another one bites the dust.